Hillary Clinton is teaching what's known as a MasterClass. Okay, this is an investor-backed venture meant to offer courses to anyone who's willing to pay for them. And the courses are taught by celebrities, public figures, politicians. Hillary Clinton is teaching one on resilience. And it's believe it or not. And so as part of this, she is going to read the victory speech that would have been the victory speech that she had prepared for the 2016 election. What would that speech be had she won? She apparently shelved that speech, but now she's reading it as part of the masterclass. She first promoted it on Twitter. Let's take a look at what the promotional video is.
This was what I intended to say if I had been elected in 2016. My fellow Americans, today you sent a message to the whole world.
I'm just going to toss it to you, Nando.
I have never, I have never seen someone revel in their loserdom more than Hillary Clinton. I mean, Hillary Clinton is like one of the world's biggest losers, in that she lost a presidential election to freaking Donald Trump. Okay. And like a historic loss in terms of, the fundamentals of that race. Like, how could Donald Trump become president? Like, it's still kind of crazy when you think about it. And there's emerged this kind of cottage industry in the wake of that loss that it's like she was failed, or, that like she was failed, that she didn't fail, that she was failed. And that she just kind of traffics on that so shamelessly all the time, and including with this, like, who does this? Like, who, like, how have you no shame? Have you no, I don't know, self-awareness or any sort of ability to recognize your role in the fact that Donald Trump, of all people, became president because of you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just think, look, it's not like I sit around waiting for an opportunity to criticize Hillary Clinton. I actually never really think about Hillary Clinton unless Hillary Clinton makes me think about her. And in this case, she's just drawing more attention to an epic loss. And I guess that could be part of a class on resilience, like, look at how badly I failed and I was able to push through it. But the problem is she hasn't pushed through it. I mean, it's clear that in various interviews that she's done following that epic loss, she's refused to really take responsibility for the failures of her own campaign. Jonathan Allen wrote a fantastic book that I'm still reading right now. I'm about finished with it, called Shattered. And it really details the failures of her campaign. But at the heart of those failures was the candidate herself, who really had no why, right? Like, why did she want to become president? She kind of had this sense of entitlement. She felt that it was her role to be the next president of the United States. And there was like this unearned confidence that came along with it, the entitlement that came along with it, but more importantly, the unwillingness to kind of take a step back and ask herself, why am I running? And I need to share that why with the electorate, right? I need to make a case for, but she never really did that. And there were all sorts of, the infighting with that campaign. Just like the internal conflict was pretty insane. So I highly recommend that book. But it's just weird to read a victory speech for an election that you lost. Like, let it go, right? Find another way to teach this class. But nonetheless, she spoke about her mother quite a bit in the speech. And I'm really curious to see how you're going to respond to this part. It's a little excerpt from it, Nando. Let's take a look.
I dream of going up to her and sitting down next to her, taking her in my arms and saying, look at me, listen to me. You will survive. You will have a good family of your own and 3 children. And as hard as it might be to imagine, your daughter will grow up and become the President of the United States.
Wow. Now that is powerful.
Yeah.
Now that is powerful.
Okay. So she's talking to her mother, right, who had an incredibly difficult life, incredibly difficult childhood. And there's a part of me that like feels sad watching that, right? Like there's two camps. I feel like the camp that kind of like dunks on her for it, and then like I'm tempted, but then there's also the part of me that's like, man, this is just such a devastating situation. Like it's embarrassing, it's devastating, it's awful.
You're talking about the why, and it seems very clear that for a long time, Hillary Clinton's life doesn't make sense without her being the president. You know, like she put all her chips into that whatever, pile, I guess is the metaphor. Like she like once she decided like this is what I'm going to be, like her whole life and her whole identity and her whole sense of worth were wrapped up in that, and then she didn't get it. And now she just like, it's so painfully obvious, like when you see her talk, that it's just like her life is meaningless now, that her life has no meaning. And it is very sad. But I just think like, talking about her sense of entitlement, like when she's spoken about that election in interviews in the intervening years, she basically takes it for granted that the Russians stole it, right? Like she says that openly. And like that is as much a fake news as like about as much fake news as like Donald Trump saying that the election was stolen from him. That she can't conceive of the loss without some nefarious actor taking it from her rather than her losing it. And until she kind of confronts that, her life will never have any meaning.
I mean, and also, again, going back to the topic of resilience is the ability to get back up after a crushing blow, right? And in order to get back up, you have to recognize what went wrong in the crushing blow. So I'm actually really curious what the entirety of this masterclass entails, because how do you teach resilience to, how does someone who has refused to take personal responsibility and who has refused to learn any lessons then move forward to teach a masterclass on resilience? Like, how do you power through something without learning lessons from the very thing that you went through? Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, actually what we're going to do on this show is we're going to buy the masterclass and we're going to do a live stream of you and I watching it and learning from it. Kale, can you put up the promotional video for the masterclass? Because she's not the only one participating. We got Bill in the house. We got George W. Bush in the house, and former First Lady Laura Bush. We got all the hits. Condoleezza, Madeline. It's. I cannot wait for this thing to come out. Like the idea that they would do this with the freaking Bushes. Like
yeah, of course they would. Of course they would.
They love him. They love him. They love him. It's the whole thing is just absolutely mind-boggling that this thing exists. Like we have to do we have to do something about it. Like we have to do like a part. Maybe we'll just do like a party and we'll invite people and we'll just like sit around and watch the masterclass together. I think that could be fun.
The masterclass is honestly just the only thing it's a masterclass in is how meritocracy in this country is a myth. Like in my opinion, I mean, it's like, here are all these failed politicians who did awful, atrocious things, and they're we're gonna pay them probably quite a bit of money. I mean, why else would Hillary Clinton do something, in my opinion, as humiliating as this, unless she's getting paid for it significantly? Right. And even then, like, dude, you've gone above and beyond to accumulate the kind of wealth that you have. Okay, I mean, how many people were harmed in the process of you accumulating that wealth? I mean, you literally have a responsibility to go away and at least just like go enjoy it. Go enjoy it. I mean, what was the point of doing all of that if, you're just going to be miserable and, constantly remind people about your failure in 2016? We do have one other video I want to get to because she was asked, why did you do this? Like, what was the point of doing this? And obviously asked in a friendly way. And here's what she had to say.
What compelled you to sit down and revisit that speech?
Well, I wanted to be as helpful as I could to the viewers and to the process of being in a master class. So I worked on a speech that really was about my journey and had a real emphasis on my mother's life and journey as a way of, making it clear that, yes, I would be the first woman president, but I like everybody, stood on the shoulders and lived the lives and experiences of those who came before us.
Willie Geist's face, and that was great. He was like, like at one point. But I'm wondering who the audience, like who's paying for this? Because master classes are not cheap. They're like $70 or something. Like they're, I don't know exactly how much they are, but they're not like $299 or something. They're not cheap at all. So I'm wondering like who the audience for this is. Like who's the customer? I want to meet like that person who's like sees that promo and sees like, oh, Laura Bush is in this. Oh yeah, I'm putting in the credit card info and buying this. Like who is that person? I feel like that person doesn't really exist.
I am curious about that. I'm wondering if like maybe some college lecturers or professors might buy it like just to access some of the video content for their class. I don't know. I really don't. But maybe the audience is people like us who are just going to buy the classes to dunk on them. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this video from Jacobin Weekends, please hit like and subscribe. That way, you'll enjoy all of our backlog, as well as all of our future content, including interviews, live streams, and clips. Thank you.